Jake Reaper Sullivan stood on the edge of Devil's Point, a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean in Big Sur, California. The wind tore at his leather vest, his graying hair, his face weathered by 53 years of hard living. In his hands, he held a simple urn. Inside, all that remained of his son, Dylan, age 14, dead 3 months ago from leukemia. Jake had promised Dylan they'd come here together. His son had seen pictures online, the dramatic cliffs, the endless ocean, the wild beauty. "Dad, when I get better, can we ride there? Just you and me?" "Yeah, kid, when you get better." But Dylan hadn't gotten better. Jake's hands shook as he opened the urn. He'd done this ride alone, 2,000 miles from Phoenix to Big Sur on his Harley. Brothers from his motorcycle club, the Iron Knights, had offered to come. Jake had refused. This was between him and his son. "Dylan," Jake's voice cracked. "I'm sorry, kid. Sorry I couldn't save you. Sorry you never got to see this place with your own eyes. Sorry for every promise I broke, every moment I wasn't there because I was out with the club or working or being a shitty father." Tears streamed down his face. Jake hadn't cried in 30 years, not when his father died, not when his marriage fell apart, not through countless fights and losses. But losing Dylan had broken something in him that couldn't be fixed. "I love you. I'll always love you. And I hope wherever you are, you're not hurting anymore. You're free." Jake tilted the urn. Dylan's ashes caught the wind, scattering across the cliff face and out over the ocean. Grey dust disappearing into blue sky and white foam. Gone. His son was gone. Jake fell to his knees, the empty urn clutched to his chest, sobbing with a grief so profound it felt like drowning. That's when he heard the voice. "He told me you'd come." Jake's head snapped up. Through his tears, he saw a small figure standing about 20 feet away, half hidden behind a boulder. A boy, maybe 8 or 9 years old, thin, with messy brown hair and enormous eyes, wearing clothes that looked too big for him, a faded jacket and worn jeans. "What?" Jake's voice was hoarse. The boy stepped closer, cautious but not afraid. "Dylan, he told me you'd come here, to this cliff. He said you'd keep your promise." Jake's blood ran cold. "How do you know my son's name?" "He told me. We talked. A lot. In the hospital." "The hospital?" Jake stood slowly, wiping his face. "Kid, what hospital? When?" "St. Mary's in Los Angeles, 3 months ago, before—" The boy's voice faltered. "Before he died." Jake's mind raced. Dylan had been treated in Phoenix, at the Children's Hospital. He'd never been to St. Mary's in L.A. Not that Jake knew of. "You're lying." Dylan was never in L.A. "Yes, he was, for 2 weeks. They transferred him for a special treatment. You were away, on a run with your club." Jake's stomach dropped. He had been away. 3 months ago, the club had needed him for a week-long run to California, picking up a shipment, handling business. Dylan had been stable, in remission. His ex-wife, Sarah, had said she'd handle everything. "How do you know about that?" "Dylan told me. He said his dad was a biker, that you were tough and scary and strong, that you were doing something important." The boy's eyes were too old for his face. "He missed you, but he understood. He always understood." "Who the hell are you?" "My name is Ethan. I was in the room next to Dylan's. We were both really sick. We'd talk through the wall late at night when the nurses weren't around." Jake's legs felt weak. "Why are you here? How did you know I'd be here?" "Dylan told me about this place, about your promise. He made me promise something too." Ethan's voice trembled. "He said if I got better and he didn't, I should come here. He said you'd come too because you always keep your promises, even the hard ones." "Kid, Ethan, I don't understand." "Dylan saved my life," Ethan said, tears running down his small face. "And he asked me to tell you something. Something he couldn't tell you himself." Jake stared at this boy, this stranger who claimed to know his son, and felt the world tilting. "Ethan, I need you to explain from the beginning. Everything. How you knew Dylan, why you're here, what you're talking about." Ethan nodded, sitting down on a rock. Jake joined him, his large frame making the boy look even smaller. "I have leukemia too." "Had," Ethan corrected himself. "I'm in remission now. But 3 months ago I was dying. The doctors said I needed a bone marrow transplant, but they couldn't find a match. My mom," his voice broke, "my mom tried everything, but she couldn't afford the experimental treatments. What does this have to do with Dylan? They put me in the room next to Dylan's at St. Mary's. I was alone most of the time. Mom had to work. She'd visit when she could, but—" Ethan wiped his eyes. "Dylan heard me crying one night. He started talking to me through the wall, asked me what was wrong. I told him. Jake's chest ached. That sounded like Dylan, always trying to help others even when he was suffering himself. We talked every night after that, about everything. He told me about you, about riding motorcycles, about how much he loved you, even though you were gone a lot. He said you were a good dad, just complicated. I wasn't a good dad, I was barely there. That's not what Dylan thought. He said you were his hero. He had a picture of you in his room, on your bike. He looked at it every day. Jake hadn't known that. Hadn't known his son kept his picture. The guilt was crushing. What happened, Ethan? How did Dylan save you? They found a donor match for me. Someone compatible. The transplant worked, I got better. But Dylan, Ethan's face crumpled. Dylan got worse, the treatment they were trying didn't work. He went back to Phoenix. I was still in the hospital when I heard he died. I still don't understand the connection. Ethan took a deep breath. Dylan was the donor match, Mr. Sullivan. He was compatible with me. But he couldn't tell anyone because... The boy hesitated. Because he knew you'd stop him. Jake's world stopped. What? Dylan donated his bone marrow to me. While he was fighting his own leukemia, the doctors said it was risky, that it could make him weaker, but Dylan insisted. He said if he was going to die anyway, he wanted to save someone. He wanted his death to mean something. No, that's not... Sarah would have told me. The doctors would have... They didn't know who the donor was. Dylan arranged it through the hospital's anonymous donation program. He was over 13, so he could consent to medical procedures without parental approval in California. And your ex-wife, she was overwhelmed, working, stressed. Dylan told the doctors you were away and his mom approved it. He lied. He bent the truth because he knew you'd try to stop him if you found out. And Mr. Sullivan, Ethan looked at him with those impossibly old eyes. He was going to die anyway. The doctors had told him he had weeks, maybe a month, but if he donated, he could save me. So he did. Jake couldn't breathe. His son had made this choice, had literally given part of himself to save a stranger. And Jake had been off on a club run, oblivious. Why didn't anyone tell me after? Why didn't you come forward? Dylan made me promise not to. He said you'd feel guilty, that you'd blame yourself. He didn't want that. He wanted you to remember him as strong and happy, not as someone who martyred himself. He made me promise to wait, to get healthy. And then, if you came here like he said you would, I could tell you the truth. Why? Why tell me at all? Because Dylan had one last wish. Something he couldn't tell you himself. Jake's hands were shaking. What wish? Ethan reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He wrote you a letter, gave it to me 2 days before he went back to Phoenix, said to give it to you when I found you here. Jake took the letter with trembling hands. The handwriting was Dylan's, messy, young, but unmistakably his son's. Jake unfolded the letter, his vision blurring with tears. Dad, if you're reading this, Ethan found you. That means I was right, you kept your promise, you came to Devil's Point. I knew you would. You always keep your promises, even if it takes time. I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen with your heart, not your anger. I'm not going to make it, Dad, I know that. The doctors know it, Mum knows it, even if she won't say it out loud. I'm dying, and I'm okay with that. Really. I've had 14 years, and most of them were good because I had you. But I met this kid, Ethan, he's 8. He has a mom who loves him but can't save him. He's alone and scared and dying, just like me, except he doesn't have to die. He can be saved. He just needs a donor match. I'm compatible. I found out by accident when they ran my blood work, and when I learned I could save him, I knew I had to, even if it made me weaker, even if it sped up my death. Because, Dad, you taught me something important, that life isn't about how long you live, it's about what you do with the time you have. You taught me that helping people matters, that standing up for those who can't stand up for themselves is what real strength looks like. You might think you weren't a good father, but you were. You are. You taught me to be brave, to do the right thing even when it's hard. That's what I'm doing now. I'm saving Ethan. And I need you to do something for me. Ethan's mum, her name is Maria Reyes. She works 3 jobs trying to pay for his treatment. She's drowning in medical debt even with him in remission. She's going to lose her house. She's going to lose everything. And Dad, Ethan needs her. He doesn't have anyone else. I need you to help them. Not because you owe me anything, you don't, but because they're good people who need help, and you're the kind of man who helps people. I know the club life makes you think you're tough and mean and scary, But I see who you really are. You're kind. You're protective. You're the dad who sat with me for hours during chemo, even though you hate hospitals. You're the one who made me laugh when I was scared. That's the man I need. That's the man Ethan and Maria need. Please, Dad, take care of them. Not forever. Just until they're stable. Until Maria can breathe. Until Ethan grows up strong and healthy. Do it for me. Do it because I asked you to. I love you so much. I'm sorry I won't be there for more rides, more talks, more time. But I'm not afraid anymore. I'm tired, and I'm ready to rest. And knowing that I saved Ethan, that my death meant something, that helps. Be happy, Dad. Live. Laugh. Find peace. And remember me not as the kid who died, but as the kid who loved you and was loved by you. That's enough. Forever your son, Dylan Jake read the letter 3 times, each word carved into his heart like a knife. His son had given his life to save this boy, and Dylan's final wish was for Jake to take care of them. Ethan, Jake's voice was barely a whisper. Where's your mom now? We're living in a motel in Santa Barbara. She works at a diner, a laundromat, and cleans houses. I'm supposed to be in school, but we move around a lot because we can't afford rent. The medical bills, Ethan's voice cracked. She's trying so hard, but it's too much. How did you get here, to Devil's Point? I told Mom I was going to the library, then I took a bus. It took 6 hours. She's going to be really worried. I need to get back before dark. Jake looked at this small, brave boy who'd traveled 6 hours alone just to keep a promise to a dead kid he'd barely known. I'll take you back, on my bike. But first, Jake knelt down to Ethan's level. I need you to answer something honestly. Did Dylan seem happy when he made this choice? To donate? He seemed peaceful, Ethan said, like he'd figured something out. He said saving me made all the pain worth it, that he'd found his purpose. Jake's throat was so tight he could barely speak. Okay, then we honor his wish. I'll help you and your mom. Whatever it takes. That's what Dylan wanted, and that's what we're going to do. Ethan threw his arms around Jake, crying. Thank you. Thank you so much. Jake held this fragile child, this living reminder of his son's sacrifice, and made a silent vow. Dylan had given his life for Ethan. Jake would give his life to making sure that sacrifice mattered. Jake strapped a spare helmet onto Ethan's small head, making sure it fit securely. You ever been on a motorcycle before? Never. It's loud. It's fast. You hold onto me tight and don't let go. Lean when I lean. Got it? Got it. They mounted the Harley. Jake felt the boy's small arms wrap around his waist, gripping tight. As the engine roared to life, Jake felt something shift inside him. For 3 months he'd been walking dead, going through motions, feeling nothing but grief. But now, carrying this child his son had saved, he felt a flicker of purpose. The ride to Santa Barbara took 3 hours. Ethan was silent most of the way, just holding on, the wind whipping past them. When they finally pulled up to the Pacific View Motel, a rundown place with peeling paint and flickering neon, it was nearly dark. A woman burst out of one of the rooms, running toward them. Mid-30s, exhausted-looking, terror and relief warring on her face. Ethan, oh my God, where have you been? I've been calling everyone. I was about to call the police. She stopped short when she saw Jake. Her expression shifted to suspicion and fear. Here was a massive biker with her son. Who are you, Ethan? Get away from him. Mom, no, this is Dylan's dad, Mr. Sullivan, the one I told you about. Maria froze. Dylan? The boy from the hospital? Yes, ma'am, Jake said, dismounting. Your son traveled to Big Sur to meet me. To deliver a message from Dylan, I brought him back safely. You... Maria looked between them, processing. Ethan, you went to Big Sur. That's hours away. You lied to me about the library. I had to, Mom. I promised Dylan I'd find his dad. I had to keep my promise. Maria pulled Ethan into a fierce hug, then turned back to Jake. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about your son. Ethan told me what Dylan did, what he sacrificed for us. I've been trying to find a way to thank you, to reach out, but I didn't know how... Can we talk? Jake interrupted. Inside. There's something I need to discuss with you. Maria's motel room was small but clean. One bed, a few belongings in suitcases, evidence of a life lived on the edge. Jake sat at the small table while Maria made instant coffee with a hot plate. Ethan sat on the bed watching them both. Dylan left me a letter, Jake began. Ethan delivered it. In it, my son explained everything. The donation, the sacrifice, and his final wish. What wish? Maria asked, handing him a mug. He asked me to help you, both of you, to make sure Ethan grows up healthy and you're not drowning in debt." Maria's face hardened. "We don't need charity. It's not charity. It's honoring my son's last request. We'll manage on our own. We've been managing. Managing by living in a motel and working 3 jobs?" Jake's voice was gentle, not accusatory. "Maria, I'm not here to insult you. I'm here because Dylan gave his life for your son. The least I can do is make sure that sacrifice means something. It already means something. Ethan is alive. He's healthy. He has a future. A future where he misses school because you move constantly? Where he worries about you working yourself to death? Where medical bills follow you forever?" Maria's eyes filled with tears. "What do you want from me? To admit I'm failing? Fine, I'm failing. I can't afford rent. I can't pay off the debt. I can barely feed us, but I'm trying. I'm doing everything I can. I know, and you're doing an incredible job under impossible circumstances, but you don't have to do it alone anymore. What are you offering?" Jake took a breath. "I have a house in Phoenix. 3 bedrooms, empty since my ex-wife moved out after Dylan died. You and Ethan move in, no rent. I'll cover Ethan's continued medical care. You can quit 2 of your jobs, focus on 1, and on being with your son. In exchange, I ask for nothing except the chance to watch Ethan grow up, to see the life my son saved, actually lived." Maria stared at him. "You're serious? Completely? You don't know us. We could be criminals. We could rob you blind. Dylan trusted you. That's enough for me. This is insane. People don't just do this. My son gave his bone marrow to your son while dying of cancer. Compared to that, this is nothing." Maria looked at Ethan, then back at Jake. "Why? Really, why? This isn't just about honoring Dylan. What do you get out of this?" Jake was quiet for a moment. Then, "Honestly, a reason to keep living. My son is dead. My marriage is over. My club is all I have, and even that feels empty now. But helping you, watching Ethan grow up healthy and strong, that gives Dylan's death meaning. That gives me purpose. I'm not doing this to be noble. I'm doing it because I'm selfish and broken and I need something to live for." The raw honesty seemed to reach Maria. Her defenses cracked. "I need to think about it. This is huge. Moving to another state. Living in a stranger's house. Take your time. I'll be in town for a few days. Here's my number." Jake scribbled on a napkin. "Call me when you've decided, but Maria, please let me do this. For Dylan. For Ethan. For all of us." 2 days later, Maria called. "We'll do it. We'll move to Phoenix, but I have conditions. Name them. I pay rent. Even if it's just $100 a month, I need to contribute. Done. I keep working. At least 1 job. I don't want to be dependent. Fair. And if at any point this arrangement doesn't work, if you change your mind or we're uncomfortable, we can leave. No guilt, no strings." "Agreed. Okay then. When do we start?" 3 weeks later, Jake pulled his Harley into his driveway in Phoenix with Maria and Ethan following in their beat-up sedan loaded with their belongings. The house was a modest ranch style in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but solid, safe. "This is yours?" Ethan's eyes were huge. "This is ours now," Jake corrected. He showed them around. 2 bedrooms upstairs, 1 down. "You 2 take the upstairs rooms. I'll take the one down here. More privacy for everyone." "It's too much," Maria whispered, looking at the clean, furnished house. "It's what Dylan would have wanted." Over the next weeks, they settled into a routine. Maria got a job as a medical receptionist. 1 job, reasonable hours, health insurance included. Ethan enrolled in a good school nearby. Jake returned to work with his construction company, a legitimate business he'd built alongside his club activities. Jake's brothers from the Iron Knights were confused at first. "Reaper, you took in strangers, a woman and her kid." That was Hammer, the club president, visiting one evening. "It's complicated. Explain it." So Jake told the whole story. Dylan's sacrifice, the letter, the promise. Hammer was quiet for a long time. Then, "That's some heavy shit, brother. Your kid had more balls than most grown men." "Yeah, he did. And you're really going to raise this other kid? This Ethan?" "I'm going to help raise him. Make sure he has the chance Dylan wanted him to have." That's good, Reaper. Real good. You need anything, money, support, whatever. The club's got your back." "Thanks, Hammer." The real shift came 3 months after the move. Jake was in the garage working on his bike when Ethan appeared. "Mr. Sullivan, can I ask you something?" You can ask me anything, and kid, call me Jake. Mr. Sullivan makes me feel old. Okay, Jake. Ethan hesitated. Will you teach me about motorcycles? Jake looked at this small boy. Still thin, still recovering, but getting stronger every day. You want to learn about bikes? Dylan told me about them, about how you'd ride together, how free it made him feel. I want to understand what he loved. Something in Jake's chest loosened. Yeah, I can teach you. Come here. For the next hour, Jake showed Ethan the basics, engine parts, how the clutch worked, why balance mattered. The boy absorbed everything with intense focus. My dad left before I was born, Ethan said suddenly, running his hand along the chrome. I never had anyone to teach me guy stuff. Mom tries, but she doesn't know about bikes and tools and things. Well, now you have me. I may not be your dad, but I can teach you what I know. If you want. I want that. A lot. As they worked side by side, Jake realized something. He was smiling. For the first time since Dylan died, he was genuinely smiling. 6 months after Maria and Ethan moved in, life had transformed. Maria was thriving at her job. Ethan was healthy, getting good grades, making friends, and Jake was learning to live again. He still missed Dylan every day, still ached with loss. But caring for Ethan, watching him grow strong, gave the grief purpose. One evening, Maria found Jake sitting on the back porch, looking at stars. Mind if I join you? Your house too. She sat beside him. Thank you. For everything. I don't say it enough. You don't need to. Yes, I do. Jake, you saved us, not just financially. You gave Ethan a stable home, a father figure, a future. And you gave me hope that I could actually give my son a good life. Your son saved mine in return. Gave Dylan purpose in his final days. That's worth everything. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Maria said quietly, Ethan's been asking if he can call you Dad. Jake's breath caught. What? Not to replace his biological father. He never knew him anyway. But because you're the one who's here, who teaches him things, who shows up to his school events, who makes him feel safe. What did you tell him? I told him he should ask you himself, that it's your choice. Jake thought about Dylan, about his son's letter, about the family they'd become, not through blood, but through choice and love and grief transformed into purpose. If he wants to call me Dad, I'd be honored. Maria smiled, tears in her eyes. Thank you. The next morning, Ethan approached Jake nervously. Jake, can I talk to you? Always. Mom said I could ask you something. It's okay if you say no, I'll understand. What is it, kid? Would it be okay if I called you Dad? I know I'm not Dylan. I know I can't replace him. But you've been more of a father to me than anyone, and Jake pulled Ethan into a hug, surprising both of them. You're not replacing Dylan. You're honoring him. He saved your life because he wanted you to have a father, a home, a future. Calling me Dad? That's exactly what he would have wanted. So yeah, kid, you can call me Dad. Ethan cried into Jake's shoulder. Thank you, Dad. And Jake, who'd thought his heart was too broken to feel anything but pain, felt it start to heal. 1 year after spreading Dylan's ashes, Jake returned to Devil's Point. This time he brought Maria and Ethan with him. They stood at the cliff's edge, all three of them, looking out at the ocean. Dylan, Jake said aloud, I kept my promise. I found Ethan. I've been taking care of him and Maria, just like you asked. Ethan's healthy. He's thriving. He's growing into an amazing kid, brave and kind, just like you. I want you to know, I'm not replacing you. You're my son, always. But Ethan's my son now too. I've got room in my heart for both of you. Maria's become family. We're building something good here, something you started. I miss you every day. I wish you were here to see this, but I know you're proud. You gave your life so Ethan could live. Well, he's living, Dylan. He's really living. And I promise to make sure he always remembers the kid who saved him. The kid who taught me that true strength is sacrifice. That real courage is caring more about others than yourself. Thank you for the letter, for the second chance, for showing me that my life doesn't have to end just because yours did. I love you, son. Forever. Ethan spoke next, his voice small but clear. Dylan, I'm the kid you saved. I don't remember much from the hospital, but I remember your voice through the wall. How kind you were. How brave. Your dad is teaching me to be brave too, to help people, to do what's right even when it's hard, just like you did. I'm going to make your sacrifice matter. I'm going to live the best life I can. And when I'm old enough, I'm going to help other kids who are sick and scared, just like you helped me. I promise. Maria added softly. Dylan, you gave me my son back. There are no words for that kind of gift, but I'll spend the rest of my life making sure Ethan grows into someone you'd be proud to have saved. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart. They stood together, this unconventional family born from grief and sacrifice, honoring the boy who'd brought them together. As they turned to leave, Ethan took Jake's hand. Dad, can we come back here every year? To remember Dylan? Yeah, kid, we can do that, as a family. That's what we are now, right? A family. Jake looked at Maria, who nodded, smiling through tears. Yeah, Ethan, that's exactly what we are. 2 years after that first visit to Devil's Point, life had settled into a new normal, but not without its challenges. Ethan was now 11, and with his health stabilized, normal pre-teen issues emerged. He struggled in math, got into a fight at school defending a smaller kid, and asked increasingly difficult questions about identity and family. Dad? Ethan sat at the kitchen table one evening while Jake helped with homework. Do you ever wish I was Dylan instead? That he was the one who lived? Jake put down his pencil. Come here. They moved to the living room couch. Jake took a breath, choosing his words carefully. I miss Dylan every single day. I wish he'd lived. I wish cancer hadn't taken him. I wish I'd been a better father while I had the chance, but Ethan, I don't wish you were him. You're you. And Dylan chose to save you specifically, not some abstract kid, but you. That means something. But wouldn't it be better if... No, listen to me. Dylan's death was tragic, unfair, wrong in every way. But you being alive? That's not wrong. That's the one good thing that came from his death. You're not a replacement. You're not second place. You're a gift Dylan gave me. The chance to be the father I should have been. To do it right this time, and kid, you make it easy. You're smart, brave, kind. You're everything I could ask for in a son. Really? Really. I love you, Ethan. Not because you're Dylan, but because you're you. Ethan hugged him tightly. I love you too, Dad. Maria faced her own challenges. Dating, specifically. I haven't been on a date in 12 years, she confessed to Jake one evening. And now that Ethan's stable, that I'm stable, I'm thinking maybe, but it feels weird, like I'm abandoning this family we've built. You're not abandoning anyone by having a life, Jake said. You deserve happiness, Maria, romance, whatever you want. Ethan and I will be fine. What about you? Have you thought about dating? Me? Jake laughed bitterly. I'm 55, a biker, with more baggage than an airport. Who'd want this? Someone smart enough to see past the leather and tattoos to the good man underneath. I'm focused on being a father right now, that's enough. But Maria's question stuck with him. Was he allowed to move forward? To find happiness beyond being a father? The Iron Knights brought their own complications. The club was changing. Younger members wanted to get into riskier business, drugs, weapons. The old guard, including Jake, wanted to keep things relatively clean, legitimate businesses fronting for smaller operations. Reaper, you've gone soft, one young hothead named Viper accused during a meeting. Ever since you took in that woman and kid, you've lost your edge. Jake stood slowly, his presence filling the room. Watch your mouth. Or what? You going to hit me? Prove you're still a real biker and not some suburban dad playing house? Jake crossed the room in 3 steps, grabbed Viper by his vest, and slammed him against the wall. I've buried more men than you've met. I've done things that would give you nightmares. But I've also learned something you're too stupid to understand. Real strength is protecting people, not hurting them. Real courage is building something instead of tearing it down. You want to call that soft? Fine. But I'm still the man who'll put you on the ground if you disrespect my family. He released Viper, who slid down the wall. Hammer intervened. Enough. Reaper's right. This club was built on brotherhood, not recklessness. We protect our own, and his family is our family now. Anyone got a problem with that? Silence. Good. Now, Viper, apologize. Sorry, Reaper. Jake nodded, walking out. But the confrontation showed him something. He was changing. The club was his past. His family was his future. At home, he found Ethan and Maria watching a movie. They made space for him on the couch without comment, accepting his presence as natural. Everything okay at the club? Maria asked quietly. Yeah, just some idiots needing reminding about respect. You know you don't have to stay in the club if it's not working anymore, right? Ethan said. You can just be our dad. That's enough. Jake looked at this kid. this thoughtful, perceptive boy who'd become his son. You're wise beyond your years, you know that. Dylan told me his dad was smart and tough. I figure I learned from the best. From two dads, Jake corrected. Dylan taught you a lot before I ever met you. Yeah, he did, but you're teaching me even more. Later that night, Jake looked at photos of Dylan on his phone. His son at various ages, laughing, riding on the back of Jake's bike, playing video games, sick in the hospital. I hope I'm doing this right, Jake whispered to the image. Hope you're proud. I'm trying, Dylan. I'm really trying. 3 years after spreading Dylan's ashes, when Ethan was 12 and thriving, the past caught up with them. It started with a phone call, a blocked number. Jake Sullivan. Who's this? My name is Richard Caldwell. I'm a lawyer representing the Reyes family. Jake's blood ran cold. Maria's maiden name was Reyes. What do you want? My clients, Maria Reyes's in-laws, have recently learned she's living with you and that you're acting as a father figure to their grandson. They're concerned about the living situation and are considering legal action for custody. Maria's ex never even knew about Ethan. These people have no claim. They're the paternal grandparents. Under California law, they have the right to petition for visitation or custody if they believe the child is in an unsafe environment. A home headed by a known member of a motorcycle club with a criminal record might qualify. Jake had a record. A few arrests from his younger, stupider days. Nothing serious, but enough for a lawyer to twist. This is bullshit. Ethan is happy, healthy, safe. That may be. But my clients are prepared to file suit unless Ms. Reyes agrees to their terms. What terms? Ethan spends summers with them. They have decision-making authority on major medical and educational issues. And you cease acting as his father. Jake's grip on the phone tightened. Tell your clients to go to hell. I'll relay your position. Expect legal papers within the week. Jake told Maria and Ethan that evening. Maria's face went white. The Reyes family. Ethan's biological father's parents, but they never wanted anything to do with us. When I was pregnant, they called me a liar, said I was trying to trap their son. After he died, car accident when Ethan was a baby, they never reached out. Not once during Ethan's illness. Not once when we were homeless. Why now? Maybe they heard you're stable, Jake said. Maybe they see an opportunity for a relationship without the responsibility. Can they really take Ethan? Maria's voice broke. Not if I can help it. We'll get a lawyer. Fight this. Ethan had been listening quietly. I don't want to live with strangers. I want to stay here with you and Mom. You're my family. We know, kid. And we're going to make sure that doesn't change. They hired a lawyer, Sarah Chen, recommended by the club's legal counsel. She reviewed their case carefully. Grandparents' rights cases are tricky. They do have legal standing to petition for visitation. Custody is harder to win, but not impossible, if they can prove the current environment is harmful. Our environment isn't harmful, Maria said fiercely. Ethan is thriving. Good grades, friends, healthy, happy. What more do they want? They're going to argue that living with a biker who has a criminal record is inherently dangerous. They'll paint a picture of motorcycle clubs as violent criminal organizations. The Iron Knights aren't a criminal organization, Jake said. We're a motorcycle club with some business interests. I've been clean for decades, which we'll emphasize. We'll also emphasize Ethan's health improvements, his stability, his relationship with both of you. Maria, your employment history, the fact that you've been an excellent mother. And Jake, your role as a father figure. Will get testimonials from Ethan's teachers, doctors, friends, parents. What are our chances if this goes to court? 60-40 in your favor. Grandparents' rights aren't absolute, especially when the child is happy and well cared for. But there's risk. The judge could order shared custody, supervised visitation, or any number of arrangements that disrupt your family. What's the alternative to court? Maria asked. Negotiation. We meet with their lawyer, work out an agreement. Maybe they get occasional supervised visits, holiday calls. Something that gives them a relationship with Ethan without disrupting his life. I'll do whatever protects Ethan, Maria said. So will I, Jake added. The negotiation took place 2 weeks later in a sterile conference room. Jake, Maria, and Sarah Chen on one side. The Reyes family, Ethan's paternal grandparents, Carmen and Roberto, on the other with their lawyer, Richard Caldwell. Carmen Reyes was mid-60s, elegant, cold. Roberto was older, stern, clearly used to getting his way. We appreciate you meeting with us, Caldwell began. We don't appreciate being threatened with lawsuits, Sarah countered, so let's be direct. What do you want? We want a relationship with our grandson, Carmen said. We lost our son 8 years ago. We've grieved, and now we've learned we have a grandson we've never met. We want to know him. Where were you when he was dying of leukemia? Maria's voice was sharp. When I was working 3 jobs and living in a motel? When he needed bone marrow and I couldn't afford treatment? You didn't want to know him then. We didn't know he existed, Roberto said. Our son died before you could tell him you were pregnant. We only learned about Ethan recently through a private investigator we hired to settle our son's affairs. You called me a liar when I told you I was pregnant. You said I was trying to trap your son. We were grieving. We said things we shouldn't have. But that doesn't mean we don't have a right to know our grandson now. And what about Ethan's rights? Jake spoke for the first time. The right to stability? To not be torn between families? He's happy where he is. With a criminal? Carmen's voice dripped contempt. A violent biker who probably deals drugs and breaks the law? That's not a proper environment for our grandson. I work construction. I pay taxes. I've been clean for 20 years. And I'm the one who's been there for Ethan every day for the past 3 years. Where were you? We didn't know. You knew Maria existed. You could have reached out any time. You chose not to until it was convenient. The argument escalated. Voices raised. Accusations flew. Finally, Sarah intervened. Enough. Let's focus on solutions. Carmen, Roberto, what exactly do you want? Be specific. We want Ethan to spend 2 months each summer with us in California. We want video calls twice a week. And we want a say in major decisions, schools, medical care, religion. Absolutely not, Maria said. You're not taking my son for 2 months, and you don't get decision-making power. Jake and I are his parents. He's not Jake's son, he's our blood. Blood doesn't make family, Jake said coldly. Being there does. Showing up does. Loving someone enough to sacrifice for them does. I've done all of that. You've done none of it. Carmen's face reddened. You can't keep us from our grandson. Watch me. Sarah held up her hands. Let's take a break. Everyone cool off. We'll reconvene in an hour with more reasonable proposals. During the break, Jake found Ethan waiting outside the conference room. Maria had left him with a social worker during the meeting. Dad, what's happening? Jake knelt down. Those people in there, your biological father's parents, they want to be part of your life. They're asking for visits and calls. I don't want to go live with them. You won't. We won't let that happen. Promise? Promise. Kid, no matter what, you're staying with me and your mom. You're our family. Nothing's going to change that. Ethan hugged him tightly. I'm scared. I know. But we're going to fight for you. And we're going to win. When they reconvened, Sarah made a counteroffer. The Reyes family can have supervised visitation. 1 weekend every 3 months in Phoenix, not California. They can have 1 video call per month. They do not get decision-making authority. Maria and Jake remain Ethan's legal guardians with full parental rights. In exchange, we won't contest their grandparents' rights claim. That's not enough, Caldwell said. It's more than they've earned, Sarah replied. They had years to reach out. They chose not to. Now they want to disrupt a child's stable, happy life because of guilt or convenience. The court will see that. We're offering a compromise. Take it or take your chances with a judge. Carmen and Roberto conferred quietly with their lawyer. Finally, we accept, but we reserve the right to petition for more time if the relationship develops well. Agreed, as long as it's done through proper legal channels and not as threats. Papers were drawn up. Agreements signed. Walking out, Maria was shaking. That was horrible. But we won, Jake said. Ethan stays with us. They get minimal access. It's the best outcome we could have hoped for. I know, but I hate that they can still disrupt our lives. They won't. We'll make the visits work. Ethan will tolerate them for a weekend, then come home to us. It'll be fine. Jake hoped he was right. 5 years after spreading Dylan's ashes, 7 years after his son's death, Jake stood once again at Devil's Point. This time the group was larger. Maria, Ethan, now 17, Ethan's girlfriend Sophie, and Carmen and Roberto Reyes, who'd traveled from California for this annual memorial. The relationship with the Reyes family had evolved. The quarterly visits had been awkward at first, but gradually Carmen and Roberto had come to respect Jake and Maria's role in Ethan's life. They'd never be close, but they'd found a peaceful coexistence centered on Ethan's well-being. Ethan stood at the cliff's edge, tall now, healthy, with Dylan's picture in his hand, the same photo Jake had carried for years. Dylan, Ethan said, his voice deeper but still carrying the same earnestness. I'm 17 now, same age you were when you died. It's weird to be older than you, but also, I get it now. I understand why you did what you did. You gave your life so I could have mine, and man, I've tried to make it count. I'm graduating top of my class, got into UCLA on a full scholarship, pre-med. I want to be a pediatric oncologist, help kids like you and me who are fighting cancer. I've had an amazing life because of you. I got to grow up with two incredible parents, my mom who's always been there, and dad, Jake, who became my father because you asked him to. I got to learn about motorcycles and strength, and what real courage looks like. I got to be part of a family that loves me unconditionally. I even got to know my biological grandparents, which has been complicated but good. They're here today because they wanted to pay respects to you, to thank you for saving me, their grandson. So thank you, Dylan, for everything, for saving me, for giving me Jake as a father, for showing me that life is precious and should be lived with purpose. I'm going to make you proud, I promise. Jake spoke next, his arm around Maria. Dylan, 7 years. It's been 7 years, and I still miss you every single day. But son, the gift you gave me, the chance to be a father again, to do it right this time, to build a family from grief and love, it saved my life. Ethan's graduating this year. He's going to college. He's going to become a doctor and help kids just like you two helped each other. Your sacrifice didn't just save one life. It created a ripple effect that's still spreading. Maria and I are together now. We got married last year. Quiet ceremony, just family. She's my partner, my best friend, the woman who helped me heal. And it all happened because you brought us together. I've left the Iron Knights, retired from the club life. I'm just a contractor now, a husband, a father. And you know what? It's enough. More than enough, it's everything. I love you, Dylan, I'll always love you. You were my first son, and nothing will ever change that. But you gave me the gift of being a father to Ethan too, and that's made me whole again. Thank you, son, for everything. Maria added, Dylan, I never met you, but you've been part of our family since the day Ethan told us what you did. You gave me my son's life. You gave me a second chance at happiness. You gave me Jake. Our family exists because of your courage and sacrifice. We honor you, we remember you, and we make sure Ethan lives the life you wanted him to have. Even Carmen stepped forward, tears in her eyes. Dylan, I'm Ethan's grandmother. We didn't know him for most of his life, but we've come to know him these past few years. He's an extraordinary young man. Kind, brave, brilliant. That's because of you. Because you saved him. And because his parents raised him to be worthy of that sacrifice. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Roberto simply nodded, too emotional to speak, his hand on Carmen's shoulder. They stood together, this patchwork family built from tragedy and transformed into love, honoring the boy who'd brought them together. As the sun began to set, Ethan pulled out a small box. I brought something. Dylan's favorite, chocolate chip cookies. Mom helped me make them. I thought we could leave some here for him. They placed the cookies on a rock near the cliff edge, a small offering to a lost boy. You know what Dylan told me? Ethan said quietly. Through the hospital wall, when we were both so sick we couldn't sleep. He said the worst part about dying wasn't the pain or fear. It was worrying that he'd be forgotten, that he wouldn't matter. Well, Dylan, you mattered. You still matter. You always will. As long as I'm alive, as long as Dad's alive, as long as anyone who loves us is alive, you'll be remembered, not as the kid who died, but as the hero who chose to save someone he barely knew, who taught us all what real strength looks like. They stood in silence as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. Finally, Jake said, Come on, let's head back. We've got Ethan's graduation party to plan. As they walked back to their vehicles, Ethan fell into step beside Jake. Dad, thank you. For what? For keeping your promise to Dylan, for taking us in, for being my father, for everything. Kid, thank you. For letting me be your dad, for giving my life meaning again, for being exactly who you are. I love you, Dad. I love you too, son. They drove down from Devil's Point as twilight settled, the ocean behind them, their home ahead. A family built not from blood, but from choice, from sacrifice and love and the courage to open broken hearts to healing. Jake had come to spread his son's ashes and say goodbye. Instead, he'd found a reason to live again, found a son who needed a father, found a woman who became his partner, found a family that honored Dylan's memory not through grief, but through love and living fully. 7 years ago, Jake had been a man destroyed by loss, kneeling on a cliff believing his life was over. Now he was a man rebuilt by purpose, driving home with his family, believing his life was just beginning, all because a dying 14-year-old boy had saved a stranger's life and asked his father to care for them. All because one small voice had said, "He told me you'd come." And Jake had come, and stayed, and found that sometimes the greatest gift isn't the life you planned, but the life that finds you when you're open enough to receive it. Dylan had given Ethan life, and in doing so, he'd given Jake a reason to live again. That was love. That was family. That was everything. 10 years later, Dr. Ethan Sullivan stood in the pediatric oncology wing of Phoenix Children's Hospital reviewing charts. At 27, he was one of the youngest attending physicians in the department. His patients loved him, his gentle manner, his understanding, the way he treated them like people, not just cases. On his desk sat 2 photos. One, Dylan, at 14, smiling despite his illness. The other, Jake, Maria, Ethan, and baby Lily, born 2 years ago, making Jake a father again at 62, at Thanksgiving. A knock on his door. A nurse. "Dr. Sullivan, your next patient is here. 8-year-old girl, newly diagnosed with leukemia. She's scared." "I'll be right there." Ethan grabbed his white coat, paused at Dylan's photo. "Still learning from you, brother. Every day." He entered the exam room where a terrified little girl sat with her exhausted parents. "Hi there, I'm Dr. Sullivan, but you can call me Dr. Ethan. What's your name?" "Mia," the girl whispered. "Mia, that's a beautiful name. Mia, I know you're scared. I know this is overwhelming. But I want you to know something. I had leukemia too when I was just a little older than you." The girl's eyes widened. "You did?" "I did. And I got better. And you're going to get better too. We're going to fight this together, okay? You, me, your parents, everyone in this hospital. You're not alone." As Ethan began explaining the treatment plan in terms an 8-year-old could understand, he thought about the chain of events that had led him here. Dylan saving his life, Jake becoming his father, years of being loved and supported, and now him paying it forward, saving other kids, giving them hope, being the doctor he'd needed when he was sick and scared. It all traced back to one boy's sacrifice, one father's promise, one family built from grief and transformed into love. After the appointment, Ethan called Jake. "Hey, Dad, just finished with a new patient. 8 years old, leukemia, terrified. Reminded me of me. You'll take care of her." "You always do. I learned from the best, 2 best actually, you and Dylan. Dylan would be proud of you, kid. Hell, I'm proud of you. Thanks, Dad. Hey, we still on for Sunday dinner? Wouldn't miss it. Your mum's making enchiladas. Lily's excited to see her big brother. Tell her I'm excited to see her too. Love you, Dad." "Love you too, son." Ethan hung up, looked at Dylan's photo one more time. "We did it, Dylan. You saved me. Dad raised me. And now I'm saving others. Your sacrifice keeps rippling outward, and it always will." He returned to his patients, children fighting the same battle Dylan and Ethan had fought, children who needed hope and healing. And Dr. Ethan Sullivan gave them both, carrying forward the legacy of the boy who'd saved his life and the father who'd taught him how to live it. A biker had come to spread his son's ashes. A boy had appeared with a message, and from that moment of grief, a family had been born. A life had been saved. A purpose had been found. And love, real, unconditional, transformative love, had proven stronger than death. Dylan's death had ended one story, but it had begun so many others, and those stories would continue, generation after generation, as long as people remembered that one boy's sacrifice and one father's promise to honor it. That was the true legacy. Not death, but life. Not loss, but love. Not ending, but beginning. Always beginning again.